Congressman, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us today on day one of the shutdown. What is it like right now in Washington? What are you doing to make this shutdown as short as possible?
Well, I want to vote for a bipartisan budget that will fund the government and also address the healthcare crisis that is about to jack up the cost of health insurance in Rhode Island by double digits and in some cases triple digits. We can pass a budget to do all of that. Unfortunately, our House Republican colleagues are not here. So when you ask me what it's like in Washington right now, the answer is it feels empty because Speaker Mike Johnson canceled session this week. The House Republicans are home on vacation. The Democrats are here. The Senate of both parties in the Senate are here trying to resolve the situation, but House Republicans are MIA. And they need to recognize the urgency of this. The urgency of passing a bill to reopen the government so that federal workers can get paid, and also the urgency of dealing with this healthcare crisis. The thing that has triggered this entire shutdown is the fact that funding for the Affordable Care Act is about to expire. If it expires, then people's health insurance costs are going to skyrocket. We are insisting that there be funding included in the budget to maintain the Affordable Care Act so that people's costs do not go up. Republicans have disagreed with us on that, but the thing that needs to happen is we need to get ourselves together, have a negotiation, and work this thing out quickly. Unfortunately, House Republicans leaving town has really stalled the whole process.
Since session was canceled this week on the House side, what are you able to do in D.C. today, tomorrow, as this shutdown continues?
Well, first of all, we need to make sure that the American people understand that this shutdown doesn't need to happen, and this huge increase to healthcare costs that is looming starting January 1st does not need to happen. But in order for us to prevent that skyrocketing healthcare costs from going into effect and to keep the government open, we need House Republicans to come back to Washington, sit down with us, and work this thing out, not be derelict in their duty by staying home when we are in the midst of this crisis. So, I am here, we are here, the Democrats of the House are. We are asking our House Republican colleagues to do the responsible thing, come back to Washington so that we can work this thing out now.
Are you talking to any Republicans? Have you made phone calls asking them to come back and come to the table?
Yes, and I know there are a number of them who do want to come back, and a number of them who understand that we need to not only reopen the government, but also deal with this healthcare crisis and extend the Affordable Care Act funding that is set to expire. A lot of them understand that, but their leadership is telling them to stay home. Their leadership has made a political calculation that, letting the government shut down will somehow make the Democrats look bad, even though the Republicans are in full control of government. I think that their leadership is failing them right now, and I know that a lot of them, at least privately, feel that way. They haven't had the courage to say so publicly, but I know a lot of them want to come back, work together, pass a bipartisan budget, fix the healthcare crisis, all the things that I am here and we are here on the Democratic side prepared to do.
Why is health care the sticking point for you here? Do you think that's a fair trade-off for federal workers either having to go to work today without pay or having to stay home and not know what's going to happen with their jobs?
2 points on this. Number one, the reason that we are talking about health care is because the Affordable Care Act funding is about to expire, and if it does, Rhode Islanders are going to see their health insurance costs go up by double or even triple digits. So for the average family in Rhode Island or anywhere in America that is already having a hard time paying the bills, that would mean thousands of dollars more coming out of pocket for health insurance starting next year. And a lot of people won't be able to afford that and would lose their health insurance. So the reason that we're talking about healthcare now is because that funding is about to run out, and the consequences of letting it run out will be dire. The second point I would make is that Republican leadership in Congress is presenting the American people with a false choice. They're saying either we can reopen the government or we can deal with health care. We can't do both at the same time. That is a false choice. We can do both, and we don't have to settle for that false choice. So again, there's a negotiation that needs to happen here. There is a path out of this, I think, which is pass a bill that reopens the government and extends the Affordable Care Act funding. But in order for that deal to happen and in order for this to get done, the first step is that Republicans need to come back to Washington and actually do their jobs.
What do you say to Rhode Island workers who are either working without pay today or are at home unsure of what is going to happen with their federal jobs?
What I would say is that I understand the urgency of the situation. We need to get this shutdown over with as soon as possible and deal with this healthcare crisis, because we have this looming healthcare cliff coming in a matter of months, after which people's healthcare costs are going to skyrocket if we don't deal with it. I understand the urgency. That's why I am here, even though the Republicans are home on vacation. Like, I understand that we need to be dealing with this not next week, not next month, but now. I understand the urgency. I understand the anxiety that people are feeling. I am here prepared to do the responsible thing, do the work, so that we can reopen the government and deal with this healthcare crisis. But at the end of the day, Republicans are in full control of Congress and the White House. They have some responsibility here to get back to Washington, work with us so that we can get this dealt with quickly and effectively.
Are you still getting paid?
No, and I don't intend to take a paycheck until this is resolved.
Is there a compromise to be had beyond fully restoring or extending the Affordable Care Act funding in order to reopen the government, even if it's a temporary compromise?
I mean, potentially. Look, the healthcare crisis needs to be dealt with because, again, this funding for the Affordable Care Act is about to run out and people's costs will skyrocket. People cannot afford to pay thousands of dollars more for their health insurance. Now, what I've heard Republicans say is a couple of things. They said, first of all, well, yeah, that's something that we may have to deal with, but we'll deal with it later in a couple of months. Sorry, they don't have any credibility to say that because they're the same people who just cut $1 trillion from the Medicaid program over the summer. We need to deal with this now. Open enrollment for health insurance has already started. We need to deal with this now. The other thing that they'll say is, well, we don't want to give health benefits to people who are in the country illegally, even though already under the law, the Affordable Care Act tax credits are not available to people who are here illegally. But look, if they have changes that they want to make or suggest to how the Affordable Care Act tax credits work, fine, we'll hear them out. But the first step is they need to come here, come to the table to negotiate. So look, if there are ideas for how to do healthcare better, how to make adjustments to the Affordable Care Act going forward, we are open to that conversation. I'm open to that conversation. I understand that bipartisan budgets mean that there have to be bipartisan negotiations, but the first step in those negotiations is come back to the table.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time to join us today. What's the next step for you after this?
Well, listen, I'm here in Washington now. I'm hopeful that Republicans will come back so that we can negotiate a way out of this mess. I don't know if I will come back to Rhode Island in the meantime. If I do, it will be to meet with healthcare workers and others who have been impacted by this healthcare crisis and by the shutdown. But you know, my priority right now is to make sure that we keep the pressure on our Republican colleagues to get back to town, get back to Washington so that we can pass a bipartisan budget, reopen the government, and deal with the healthcare crisis.
Congressman, thank you.